took something and critiqued it in a way that's really productive, looking at some kind of the harmful impact, without actually being harsh on the people who do it. So there's some kind of broader social, cultural structures that are at play in here, and she really attacked those rather than attacking the people. And that's so hard to do in critical work, and she did it so well. And so I said, Grace, you need to do more with this project, and so here we are.
Well, hi guys, thank you for coming. Wow, sorry there's not enough chairs for y'all.
Yeah, go ahead and sit.
Yeah, here. So like Katie said, I'm here today to talk to you guys about Instagram models, so I will address the part, obviously. And effects of fitspiration and the ideal fit body type on body image health and self-objectification in female Instagram users. So, why are we here today? What's our focus? So our focus today of this study is the impact of self-objectification on Instagram users through an analysis of fitness models. So the purpose through emerging studies and research, as well as my own personal experience, I have begun to monitor the new ideal of fit and the impact it has on body image, self-esteem, and their reason for being healthy. So how many of you are on Instagram? Raise your hand. Yeah, okay. Mom, you're not yet? We'll figure that out after. So for those of you who might not know what Instagram is or aren't familiar with it, Instagram is a free photo and video sharing app for different users where people can comment and like on their friends' posts, so it's a very interactive application. So what influencers are, how many of you know what an influencer is? Maybe follow some influencers, influencer marketing, a lot of things like that. So an influencer is a micro-celebrity who shape public opinions and persuade their audiences by showing, and this is very important, their real everyday lives. And they're supported by relatability. So that's kind of what an influencer is. So right here, these are three of my favorite fitness influencers is going to be what we're focusing on today. So up at the top here, we have Whitney Simmons. She's one of my favorites. She is an American YouTuber. She sells her own apparel and is an ambassador for Gymshark, like all of these models are going to be today. All three of them are Gymshark ambassadors, like I said. Most influencers have an education in either health and wellness, fitness, or they have a personal training certification as well. All three of these have YouTube pages. I found this to be true for most influencers. And some even have their own workout applications and workout plans for sale. So Whitney Simmons is awesome. Down here we have Becca. She's really young. She's a 21-year-old. She's from Australia. She's also a Gymshark ambassador as well. And I really like her because she kind of shows that relatability, and I kind of feel like I can relate to her. She posts a lot about like her issues with her skincare and a lot of everyday things that we all kind of have in our everyday lives. So I really like her a lot. She is studying nutrition, health, and wellness in school right now. And she's kind of, like I said, more of that personal one. She is best friends with Sophie. That's Gains by Brains. I love her. She is my absolute favorite. One time she liked my comment on her post, and I kind of fingered a little bit. So that's the whole micro-celebrity thing there. She is from the Netherlands. She's very established. She has a personal training certification. She actually has her own workout plan called Gains by Brains. So she's does a very well job at marketing that. She does a lot of different challenges on her page that I do actually partake in, and it kind of motivates me to get into the gym that way. She's awesome. She did a bulking process recently, so she took us through how she gained more muscle. She focused on actually gaining strength rather than toning, and that was really cool. So she's one of my favorites. But yeah, so all three of these women that you see here, they fit the ideal body type. And what this content that they're posting is referred to as fitspiration. So that's fitness inspiration, pretty straightforward. So those are all those posts that are showing you what you might want your body to look like, what you should be doing at the gym, even what you should be wearing at the gym, what you should be eating, a bunch of things like that. But this fitspiration can really get detrimental. In retrospect, it seems pretty amazing. I'm going into the gym. I know exactly what I'm going to do that day based off of the fitspiration that I'm seeing on Instagram. But observing these recurring images can really, but at some point along the way of my fitness journey, I began to look up to these Instagram users rather than to these Instagram users. So fitspiration trend has begun to set ideal body images for everyone, especially women. So right here, these are just some pictures of typical images that I'm going to be seeing on my Instagram feed while I'm scrolling. So let's be interactive here. So what do we see? So we see females. What are some observations we see?
Their stomachs are exposed.
Okay, yep. Tight clothing, pretty revealing usually. Thin, tone, Yeah, all things like that. So they're all kind of showing. They also have one thing I found which is interesting is something they're really focusing on their glutes these days in the fitness industry. It's a big trend happening. So that's kind of posing in certain ways. They're all posing the same. Yeah, they look very in one narrow lens. So all of these images lead up to something that is called self-objectification. Basically what self-objectification is when like girls and young women who are repeatedly exposed to these images start kind of copycatting and playing and kind of posting their own images. Even I've done that, and you'll see that a little bit later, kind of copycatting what they're seeing here. And then there's one thing, many of these females succumb to this thing called self-objectification because of something I really want to teach you guys about called the male gaze. So we will watch this little video here. So this is by John Berger. So I learned about the male gaze in Katie's classes, and it's something I found really interesting. It's a very simple concept, but it's very, very impactful. So we'll watch this here really quick.
A woman is always accompanied, except when quite alone, perhaps even then, by her own image of herself. While she is walking across a room, or weeping at the death of her father, she cannot avoid envisaging herself walking or weeping. From earliest childhood, she is taught and persuaded to survey herself continually. She has to survey everything she is and everything she does, because how she appears to others, particularly how she appears to men, is of crucial importance for what is normally thought of as the success of her life.
All right, so kind of a weird concept in how he says it, so I'll break it down a little bit better for you. So basically, what he was saying to us is that, oops, that's the next one, is basically referring to that women are always watching themselves being watched. So you guys kind of probably understand what that means, right? Like when I go to the gym, I'm constantly thinking about like, what does it look like when I'm doing these moves? Like who might be looking at me? Am I using this machine properly? And that applies to everyday life as well. So this is kind of where it gets personal for me. So my experience, so I've been following influencers and workout fitspiration posts for about a year now. I kind of wanted to get back into the gym, but I didn't really know where to go. So this is something that was easy and accessible and free because I'm a broke college student and I can't afford these plans. So free that I can go to and kind of figure out what I'm going to do at the gym that day. But last semester, I kind of started noticing a little switch in myself. I was going to the gym for totally wrong reasons. It became a very stressful thing to implement in my daily life. I had to go, and if I didn't go to the gym, it just felt very, like, it was just something I needed to do and I needed to post about, and it was just not, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons, but how I started. So I really started to self-objectify myself. As you can see, I started really thinking really taking on what those other influencers were doing. I even bought this outfit, you guys. What? That's ridiculous. But anyway, so really honestly, so I really started comparing myself to these influencers. At the time, I was in the gender, race, and media class, like Katie said. So this whole thing started out as a project. We were to pick kind of whatever our interests kind of were in for that final paper, and I was really feeling the stresses of this, and it was really, really impacting my life and my mental health and all those type of things. So this led to my research question of, how does flooding one's Instagram feed with fitness models and brand ambassadors affect self-esteem and ideas of self-worth? So I had all these questions going around in my head, like, am I the only one feeling these pressures? Like, are these fitspirations on Instagram disrupting other women's confidence? Does my Gymshark outfit give me superhuman strength? I never found the answer to that question. But here's what I did for this research. So I researched. Google Scholar became my best friend. I came across this article called A Content Analysis of Fitspiration Images on Instagram, and that opened up many ways of thinking for me. Really where the bulk of my research came from was a participant observation. So I was really integrating myself into the culture, into the atmosphere of fitness influencers. And I made a lot of observations that way by it's a very female-dominated industry. I was observing what they wore, a lot of tight clothing. They weren't the standard t-shirt, shorts kind of combination. It became kind of like a fashion show, which was kind of interesting to me. What brand did they represent? How did I feel when I wore my Gymshark-inspired outfits compared to when I just ran to the gym in a standard shorts and t-shirts? So that was a super, super impactful research method for myself. And here's what I found. So my first point was fitspiration. So fitspiration really defines the ideal body type through a very narrow lens. There really is only one. Very similar look. They're all posing the same way, wearing the same stuff. Doing similar moves at the gym, I found that a lot of the videos that I was seeing day to day were all very similar moves, typically with like cables, a lot of squats, things like that. And then the second point that I found was self-objectification and the gaze. So these two things are actually what emerged from these images of fitspiration. These images are teaching self-objectification, and I know that none of these influencers are really being malicious with their content, like they're just doing it to do it, and they're very commodified, which is actually something that I've recently found while continuing this research project. I mean, Gymshark is everywhere, like they're a brand and they're selling the brand, and everybody wants to look good, so that's kind of the way that they have to objectify themselves in order to sell their brand. But there's consequences of a lot of the self-objectification and the gaze. So fake confidence. So whenever I post, you guys know that feeling like when you post a picture on Instagram and you get a lot of likes? Yeah, that's a pretty dang good feeling. So that's really fake confidence though, because you're posting it to get something out of it, but that's not really like yourself. You guys kind of feel. So yeah. So here's what I want to do next as I continue this study. So I'm in critical media research right now. I would like to conduct my own research through field interviews. So the influencers who I follow, like I said, she did comment on, or she liked my comment, so I feel like they're pretty reachable. I feel like if I reached out to them. On campus, budding fitness influencer Heidi Bean Fitness. She is not yet branded or sponsored, so I think that she'd have a really interesting take on this subject. Continue to research on Instagram algorithms. So I came across an article in Katie's class called Anxiety, Panic, and Self-Optimization, Inequalities in the YouTube Algorithm. So that really inspired me to analyze Instagram's algorithm and how that might play into why I'm seeing this constant content like reoccurring on my Instagram feed. Do you guys know how it works? It's pretty interesting actually. So the Instagram algorithm, it focuses on 3 main priorities. It has interest, timeliness, and relationship. That interest one is huge. That's the first thing they're focusing on. So obviously, Instagram has been able to tell that I'm interested in fitness and workout, stuff like that. So they're really highlighting that for me. So that's going to be the first thing that I see every time I open that application. And then another thing is class. There's more than just an obvious gender divide here with influencers. National Health and Nutrition Survey outlined the gap between social class and physical health. Being fit is expensive, you guys. Like, gym memberships are expensive. These workout clothes that they're selling is expensive. I got this on a Black Friday sale, so it was like 75% off. Otherwise, I could never afford anything that Gymshark sells. So yeah, I mean, I just think that was such an interesting angle to look at it, and people just don't have the time. They're putting like 2 hours into these workouts every day. So yeah, so that's something that I'm very interested in. So to wrap this baby up, I'd like to remind you guys of the focus of my study. So the impact of self-objectification on Instagram users through an analysis of fitness models. So when analyzing how flooding my Instagram feed with fitness models and brand ambassadors affects my self-esteem and ideas of my own self-worth, it was really, truly provoking. Instagram fitness models have no malicious intent by their self-objectification. The majority of them are simply young adults just trying to make some extra money, doing something like, they do on a daily basis, like, girl, I feel them. But anyway, but it starts to become a problem when the youth start to idolize these images of the ideal body type, and it becomes a bigger issue than just size, weight, or shape. It really does become emotional. And I'll admit it, I probably won't unfollow my favorite Instagram models anytime soon. They do bring some confidence in you, and I do go to the gym. I know where to turn to. I know where to kind of look for inspiration. But now that being self-aware, that just because I might not look exactly like them or that I can't afford the same clothes that they're wearing doesn't devalue my self-worth. So I'd like to leave you with the words of Lil Wayne and Charlie Puth. All these Instagram models are nothing but trouble when looked at to the wrong reasons. Thank you. Questions?
I guess I have a comment. So
Sure.
I also feel everything you said, and I think it's I didn't realize I was feeling those things until you said that, and then I was like, holy cow, yesterday I was folding my laundry and I was like, these are my cute workout clothes, these are my, I'm gonna go sweat a lot workout clothes.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not, this isn't something that we really think about, so I appreciate bringing this thing that we all take so for granted, just scrolling through Instagram, following Kayla, it's signs.
She's pregnant right now.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think about it, but applying a research lens to it, I'm like, okay, what more can we do? And like, how do we educate ourselves and empower ourselves?
Right.
So that we don't have to unfollow these Instagram people, because
Right.
go them, and I have a place to look, starting my workout
I agree.
routine.
Cannot
But
agree.
also knowing that if I don't have my Gymshark leggings on, I'm okay at the gym.
Yes, exactly. What's your question of how we can do that?
I'm just saying,
Or
like,
just saying,
thank
oh
you.
yeah, yes, no, exactly. That is, because there's really a fine line, because they're not bad. Like, I continue to follow them, but I think it's important to be self-aware, like, of why you're following them. So yeah, thank you. That is exactly
Like
the point I was
empowerment
trying
to
to
just,
make. Yeah.
why are we following?
Yeah, like I feel pretty badass in this outfit, I'm not gonna lie.
And
When
that's
I'm
what-
at the gym, I have a good workout when I wear this one.
So that's what matters, not,
Yeah.
I'm doing this because of some reason. So,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly, yeah. Yes, Dr. Burke.
Have you looked at the language? I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting to call them a fitness ambassador
Sure.
and a fitness influencer and, what was the other one?
Brand ambassador.
Fitspiration. Those are all really, I mean, have you looked at defining those words as to what they really are?
You know,
I mean,
that is an
it-
interesting take. I really haven't. Because, I mean, they all
I
do.
mean, an ambassador sounds like a wonderful person that's concerned about you, but they're really trying to sell product.
Right. I mean, I think there's a fine line as well between these fitness influencers. Maybe ambassador isn't always the correct word to be using. Because I feel like these people, like these women do have an interest in health and fitness. Like they have an educational background in it, most of them do. So they are really, most of them did start their accounts. So Heidi Bean, she's actually a student here. She has her personal certification, and she isn't branded or anything like that. So she is really just putting out workout videos, different workouts for people to do, because there is a need for that in the gym. Like when you go to the gym, you just kind of walk in there and you're like, what am I gonna do? And then it just ends up being a waste of time. So I think looking at her and her perspective will be really interesting, because she isn't commodified quite yet. So that's an interesting take on it. Yes.
What's the role of what's the role of collective interpassivity in this, right? So one of the things that from a theoretical perspective, right, what if that, sorry, I'm gonna throw something really whack, but this is interesting. Is that in a society mediated by social media and other forms like YouTube and other things, right? What people engage in collective interpassivity is like my son's watching Phineas and Ferb have a great summer, sitting in their darkened basement, having a boring summer.
Right.
Right? So they're living vicariously through this experience of Phineas and Ferb doing all this great stuff with their summer, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And I call myself doing this with a backpacking channel.
Okay.
You know, like, watch this guy like take all these great backpacking trips, and I'm like, why don't I get my backpack and go actually do this? You know?
Sure.
How many people?
That takes effort.
Exactly. Which is where I'm going with this. So how many? What percentage of consumers of fitspiration actually ever make it to the gym?
You know, I am not sure.
And so then, if they don't, does it produce feelings of guilt? And have the kind of negative implications that you're pointing at, right? So if a young woman is watching this and they're like, but then they spend so much time watching it, they're like, oh crap, I got no time for a workout now, I gotta get study for this test or whatever.
No, it's-
Then what happens? Like, do they feel like self-deprecating?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a great point, because that's how I was feeling, and I was like, I am really stressed out. I'm like, but I have this test to do, but I haven't made it to the gym today, but like, I really didn't need to make it to the gym, you know what I mean? Like, so no, that's very true. That's like a, actually, that's kind of with my further research. is something
right, yeah,
that-
so an interesting question might be to think about, like living vicariously through these
Right.
fitspiration models, but then if we're actually going and doing
Like,
it
are we
yourself.
actually doing it or not,
Yeah.
or are we just scrolling through and thinking that, like, when I go to the gym, I could show up in this outfit, but am I really doing anything?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
I think, sorry.
No, Megan, you're.
Like adding on to that, like I think that, by following 5 Instagram model accounts, I'm like, that'll make me go work out because I'll feel inspired. So like,
Yeah.
kind of with that, are we living vicariously through them and looking to them as like, at some certain point I'll get off my butt because I see 5 influencers a day.
Right, which I think is kind of where it becomes like a good thing, because it does make me want to go to the gym, because I do want to
Right.
look like these women, which again is more things, like, you know what I mean? But like, it does kind of get me off my butt, because I'm like, I want to look like these guys, but then that's contradictory, because it's like, but then I'm saying that that's bad. So it's a very, you just have to be aware of like what's going on. So I think that's very interesting.
One more, the concept of manufacturer consent, which is a critical theoretical concept, right? So none of the system only works, the system that supports any of these isms only works if people within the system behave in a manner that's not malicious and seems helpful. and then buys into the rest of that system. So the part where individuals, it sort of seems like, well, if I go to Instagram, I know I'm not getting the models that have been photoshopped or whatever, I'm getting real people, but that lure of the real people who are modifying themselves also then reinforces on other systems. So it's interesting, as you move into that next phase, is sort of how or if any of those folks do challenge, like in their comments, in their discussions.
Oh, I love this.
How to be sort of more empowered and why they're doing it as opposed
Yes.
to, right, so it seems like these folks, especially like the last one you mentioned,
Yes.
is not commodified, seem to be trying to challenge it from within the system. Because that's the impossibility of the system, it's there.
It's like you need it. You need the
You're
system
there.
to be successful, but then it's like, yeah, I agree. Yep.
So, I mean, it's interesting, I just think there's a way to go next.
I'm kind of going off
Last
of
question.
that. And I was just wondering, so how many of these influencers, I don't, people you follow, do this because they actually want to do it, or how many do it because they're getting paid for it and they started out doing it?
True. I mean, that's a really good question. That's kind of.
And when does it transition from being something that they started out of a passion for working out
Yeah,
to something that they have to do to make
to
money?
like something they need to do to make money. Right, exactly.
It's
So
a whole-
I think there's a very fine line, and it's just it's yeah. I got it. I have so much more content, you guys. Thank you. Come back to it. I'm assuming I'm graduating, but hit me up. I'll talk to y'all about it. Thank you guys.
Nice. Good job. What were you going to ask, Lynn? Were you going to ask something?
Yeah, I was going to